pass. All right. So call the meeting to order at 6:02. Dwight took meeting minutes last month. Since Mark is not here, would someone be willing to again?
Do you want to do it, or I can, I guess?
I'd be happy to, but I have to report that when you reminded me to bring the previous month's meetings, I was not able to put my hands on them in a timely manner, so I'll have to turn them in.
That's all right. We'll just add it. That happened before when someone was gone, and we'll just add them to the next one. So, well, if you can send it out this month, then we can just add it to approval of the May and June at next month. So you're good to do them again?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And I'll send a reminder earlier. All right. So call to order at 6:02. Dwight is going to take minutes. So you want to do a roll call, Dwight? Or I can do it if you check it.
Please.
Carolyn,
Present?
Dwight,
Present.
Mark is not here. He just let me know. Adam is here. Kathy is on vacation as well. She let me know. Trustee Benzie.
Here,
And Les, I did not hear from. I thought he would be here. He had asked a question a couple weeks ago about adding something to the agenda. So things happen. So, all right. So, is there? Yep.
you want to amend the agenda?
Yes.
before
So,
we
I
approve
would
it?
yep.
make a motion to change the agenda to discuss the ARPA funds.
All right. So Carolyn's got a motion to add under new business to add a discussion around the ARPA funds, and can I get a second for that?
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we will add ARPA funds discussion under the, in B, under new business. All right, so we get a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
All right, and-
Second that?
Perfect, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope, all right. We are gonna table approval of the minutes from May 8th, to next month, and then Dwight can send out both the May and the June ones, and we will, approve those both on July. I didn't look to see the holiday, that's why I was just looking up, I don't think we're going to.
No, it'll be the week after the holiday.
Okay, perfect, okay, great. Yep, 10th, alright, so we'll table that till, July 10th meeting. Alright, any disclosure of conflicts of interest? No public comment, so no public comment. So old business, 5-year rec and non-motorized pathway and trails plan survey. Did everyone get this in the mail? Yeah, did everyone fill it out?
I did not see it.
No? Alright.
I'll check again. They like to get the mail.
Well, we'll also send it out, so I think this looks great. We've been telling people about it, figured we'll put something up, figured to talk to Becca and get something up on the, market site as well,
Yep.
or the market Facebook page, just to get it out there and promote it, and then she and I are talking this week at the market about, what we're gonna do for the July 13th, kind of finalize plans for that for promotion, so.
Yes, and I will be starting, township social media, with the graphic that they gave me, which was pretty much the same thing as that.
Okay.
To put out on the website and on social media, and then Williams and Works is gonna kinda gauge it over the next couple weeks.
Okay.
And if we need to kinda do like another rollout of some sort of advertisement or do another mailing or anything like that, then.
Okay.
We will do that at that time.
Do we have any extras of these? Or they just went and then it went out as the
It just
mailing?
went out as, I do have the digital format. though,
Okay.
If you wanted to.
Do you,
like,
I was just
outer-
thinking we could stick, especially with the QR code, we
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
could just stick it at the market booth. I hadn't thought about that till right
Yeah.
now, but then if people are, and I'll stick one at our booth also.
Yeah, I can have Becca print out a few and hand out to some of you vendors and.
Okay, perfect. That sounds great.
'Kay.
So we are off and rolling with the,
Yes.
the survey is officially open. So thank you for everyone's work and feedback on, especially after the last meeting, feedback on the questions, so. All right, so, moving on, market anniversary event, you know, to say, I guess Becca's not here, but she and I will talk, have talked and are gonna talk about that next week to what we're gonna do, whether we're gonna do like big food, or we're gonna do just like a cake, or cupcakes, or that, kind of make the decision,
Okay.
there. Spark grant, so I talked to Taylor earlier today about this, I was hoping to have something put together to get to the Board of Trustees before their last meeting, and the last month on the farm has just eaten me alive, and so I did not. But I had some friends come out, and help me bust out a bunch of stuff yesterday, which I'm feeling more on top of the things that were going to be lost to weeds and otherwise. So Taylor resent over the form that we need to fill out for the Board of Trustees, so it's just I looked at it digitally, it's maybe 2 pages, it's pretty straightforward questions, most of them I can answer already, and she and I will put that together before this Thursday, so it can go into the packet for the board, to go to them on Monday. Ben, is it possible for you to just send over or share the quotes for the pour in place and the, kayak launch?
Yep.
Alright, I think there's a question about total amounts and that, and so then I can.
They all be grouped together for the Spark grant, or would they be a separate grant? Do you have to put 2 in?
No, they'll be together,
Okay.
yeah, I think we'll pitch it as something, I've been thinking about it, you know, as something is like that, since they're so close to each
Yeah,
other, it's
kind
sort
of
of the
that whole
Wisswasser
area.
Park corridor,
Yeah.
Park Lake corridor,
Okay.
yeah, so,
Yep, I'll share both of those with you.
okay, great, and then I will have some time, I will make time tomorrow night to get whatever I can get filled out in there, Taylor, and then I can get over to you and we can figure out if there's anything but reading through it, there were no questions on there that were just like,
No, it's all pretty straightforward, just kind of what exactly the grant is.
Yeah.
So that the board has a good idea of what they're voting on.
yeah.
What was the cap on that?
It's 1 million, I think.
million?
Yeah, I think so. 100,000 to 1 million, I think is the range they're
Maybe-
looking for.
Maybe even lump in there, the whole boat launch engineering.
Yeah, I think if you've,
I don't have numbers for that, but I mean.
okay,
Maybe leave that part
Yeah, I
out, but
guess
maybe
maybe-
mention that it would be part of
It'd be
it, but we're
part-
not asking
part
for
of that
funding for
project,
that.
yeah,
Like, that would be our part of our funding
yeah.
that we're.
Yeah, and there's no match, I don't think there's any match required
Right,
for
but
that,
that'd
but
be
it's
like
still
our
nice to be like, we are
buy-in,
also,
if you
yeah,
will, yeah.
great.
If you get swamped, let me know and I can always try to help out, fill things out too.
Okay, perfect, I appreciate that. So, yeah, so I think if we can get this done this week, cause it's not due till the 26th.
Yep.
You know, you get it done this week, get to the board for the packet by Thursday, so it's in their Monday packet. Would you like me to come to the meeting on Monday night?
It's Tuesday.
Oh, yes,
because it's
Tuesday, sorry,
Juneteenth.
yeah, Tuesday, cause
Yeah.
of Juneteenth.
Yep,
If you're able to, that'd be great, but I know you're a busy guy, so.
I think that I can do that. Let me just put it on here. Meeting. And those are 6 o'clock as
Yep.
well? Okay, great.
Do you want the drawings of that launch too?
If you have the drawings, it's probably not bad
Yeah,
to.
Probably more information's better.
Yeah, and I would say that, I don't know that we need to have that to put in for the, Board of Trustees packet,
But for the
but for the
grant.
grant, that would be good to have that stuff
Yeah,
in
I
there.
have
I think for the
three
Board of Trustees packet, we're looking just more for total amount.
Numbers?
Yep,
Okay.
yeah, even if you wanna just send me over total amount of like pour in places X and kayak launches X,
Okay.
that's
For the
fine.
board, that's fine, yeah, and then I do have hard quotes for both.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so if you use those numbers, even if you wanna just, I think you have my cell, even if you, I'll make sure
I
before
have it
tonight.
if-
Yeah, even if you just wanna text it over and say like, these are the 2 numbers, that'll get us what we need for Thursday.
Okay.
And if you do that tomorrow or tonight, if you have them on hand or that, then I can work on it tomorrow night. And then that gives us Wednesday if there's any kind of questions or that before it needs to go to you on Thursday.
Yep.
Perfect.
I'm not sure what kind of approach you are having for that, but I've heard that it's really competitive for these Spark grants, and a lot of people, like a surprising number of people applied. But they just say like the historical aspect and also like the connectivity or the closest to Lake Lansing and a water place, because they seem to be emphasizing like urban and more dense populations and lake shore areas is what I've been hearing.
Okay, so yeah, it's definitely competitive and so figure it's there, we might as well
Historical.
go for it. So, and this is the last round of it, so. Alright, so that's done. Bath days, I'm just going hands off, haven't heard anything back. There's been some things like, I've heard one committee started and then another committee started, and so it was more, we were offering to say, if someone wanted to add us as a partner, like as individual citizens, as well as like some of Becca's time, we're all for it, but I haven't heard back, so I'm not chasing anything. It was more a offer from us as a committee and individuals here, so.
Okay.
So if everyone is okay with that, that's where we're at. And then, CIP plan application, is there anything that you need from us?
I was just gonna ask for, your support, and I was gonna write in for the kayak launch for the CIP. That way we have a, number, if we get funded with a Spark grant, great, if not, we have this, maybe we have a CIP that we can look at. So I was just gonna ask for your support for that, when I turn that in. If that's something that you'd like to do, great. But I'll get those turned in probably, first of next week.
Okay, so last year we had given not a vote of confidence, but a vote of support, a formal at the meeting.
Yeah, I think I
Before
turned
you-
it in before.
Yep, and so, is there anyone, do we wanna have a discussion around that, or are people feeling one
So
way
there's
or the
actually
other way?
3 of them. There's, the kayak launch will be new, the port in
Port in
place,
place,
and
yep.
the sports court will be renewed. They'll be reviewed again.
Yeah, which was what went in last year, right?
Yep.
Yep,
And I'm not making any changes to those.
okay,
Ooh, the kayak launch, the sports court, and what was the third other one?
The port in place for the playground surface.
it's like the surface on the playground is a couple years over, and definitely is ready to be replaced. So, I feel like we supported both of those last year as a committee. The kayak launch, I feel like we are clearly in support of, since we're putting it into the Spark grant as well. I feel comfortable, supporting it, formally as a board, or as a committee. Is there anyone who feels differently than that?
No, but if we get approved for the Spark grant, does that mean you just, then we just say,
We just
never mind, you don't need the
withdraw
CIP and, okay.
Yeah. And we had talked a little bit last meeting about that's not a bad thing to have, looking for sources for the same thing from 2 different places in case,
Right.
one doesn't, or,
There was one other project that I had, looked into, and I haven't got anything back on it yet, and that was a vault-style bathroom for the beach.
oh, yeah.
I don't know if we discussed that at all.
We talked a little bit about that
Briefly.
last meeting or the one before.
Basically, it's a glorified outhouse, with a filtration system for the smell and venting. So since there's no water at the beach, no running water. This would be a bad beach if there's no water there.
It's a desert now. Hasn't
Yeah,
rained, so.
So, and that was just one of the other projects. I have a little bit of information on it, but I did reach out to a company to see if I could get some numbers for that, and that's all I really would need, but, I think that, something other than that porta potty down there would be nice.
I agree, and that'd be, did you say it's similar to sort of what's at the state parks? It's
Yeah.
that kind of style
Yep.
of, yep, okay.
Who presently cleans those, if anybody?
Our
Good.
porta potties, the company that we rent them from, they come, I don't remember how often, it's either weekly or bi-weekly and they clean them, but if there's like a mess that needs to be cleaned, then we call and they come out pretty quickly.
Somebody will report that
Yeah.
then?
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. DPW tries to check them
Yeah.
often when they're around the area, but,
And that cleaning is like part of the rental
yeah, it's part of the
contract,
rental
right?
contract we
Okay,
have.
yeah.
Yep.
So would that change if we did this other one?
Yeah, we would still have to have it pumped, cause it would still be basically a giant porta potty, but I believe the ones that I was looking at it was a 750 gallon tank. So that would have to get pumped, I don't know how often, once a month or something maybe. And we'd have to contract that out.
So many people down there, excuse me, I was just thinking how long it would take.
Yeah, I don't
So
know.
many people, and I was like, we train the geese and everybody else.
If only we could train the geese.
Knock, knock, honk.
If I can get some numbers back on that before the due date, I might write that in too.
Include that in the CIP also. So. So is anyone feeling not in favor of supporting those 3, possibly 4 projects to go in for DPW?
I'll make a motion to support the projects submitted by DPW
Alright, you need
for the
a-
CIP process.
and a second?
Second?
All in favor? Any opposed? Alright, so if there's, this is officially supporting it, is there anything that you need from us, or that is now,
Nope,
since we
that's
did
good,
that?
I can write up a letter like I did last year and provide it to Ben, so.
Perfect, great. Cruising along here, huh? Alright, new business, so, this was a question that Les had brought to me after about a week or so after our last meeting. Sort of, with talk around the Park Lake Trail, but also sort of the trail with this type of trail and sort of trails in general, work on the trails at Robson Park and those types of things, sort of, he was wondering, 1, if there were updates, but 2, so he was sort of like, can we get updates every month? And I think what he and I talked about was sort of asking sort of what the scope of this committee is, given, if it were specifically talking about Park Lake Trail, given like the place where that is at the township and county and who's involved. And so I would just like to, I guess, ask Taylor sort of do you have some guidance, if people come to us and they're like, you should, people have come to us and they're like, you should do this as this committee, and it's like, I'm not sure exactly what we should be doing as this committee related to that.
Yeah, so currently, that project is at the board level, and right now what the board is waiting for is they asked the drain commissioner to look into granting the township an easement, because we would need an easement to go over the county's land to get to where the trail would start. And really, in order to do that properly and legally, we need to have an easement through him. Also so that later on down the years, that doesn't become an issue if there were a different drain commissioner or, anything like that, so that it's a written legal document. So right now, he's working through that at the county level. When we hear back from him, then that will go back to the board for their acceptance. And then after that, Karen and Ben will start putting together an implementation plan for the parking area and the trailhead, and then that will be brought to the board for their approval for the implementation of that. So that's kind of where we're at now. So right now we're waiting on the drain commissioner's office.
Okay. So just so I'm clear, so we're clear as a board committee here, that it is outside of our purview to be saying that we should be doing this specifically related to that trail.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense to me. As soon as there was the meeting with the drain commissioner and the road commission and that, it kind of felt like, okay,
Yeah. Go
It's moving along, the Park Lake Trail is moving along. As presented, there were a lot of issues with this that have to be solved, so we're in the process of doing all of that. This is a major step forward, and then we'll have to take a look at the other issues to move forward with this, but the board is really looking at this.
great. Any questions from committee here related to that?
So the funds that got approved for it, are those still like funds that are approved and like on hold for it, or are they kind
Yep,
of like?
so those are still in the budget right
Okay.
now. If for some reason, I don't know what the drain commissioner's timeline looks like. Obviously, I would hope that we would have an answer from him before the end of the year. But if for some reason it wasn't resolved by the end of the year, then during the budget process, those funds would be carried over into the 2024 budget.
Okay,
Cause those were CIP funds, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
They were appropriated. And you get into all the A words here.
Yeah, appropriated, allocated.
Yeah, appropriated, allocated, approved is a big. So all those funds have to come back to the board to be approved at whatever we're going to spend on them. But I'm only have one vote, but I would like to leave that money in place as we have moving forward, because it's taken a long time to bring this project along.
Great.
Cool.
Has there been any further outreach or engagement with the homeowners in that area?
We haven't heard anything else from them, like in regards to the, road abandonment, I still haven't heard anything from the road commission. Last I spoke to them, maybe a month ago, they still hadn't received anything. And we haven't heard much from the homeowner since then. When we get to the implementation process, Karen has definitely said that she wants to make sure that they're involved. So that we make sure that we have good signage, good like fencing or whatever to make sure that we're delineating where the trail is and where their property is. So we would definitely involve them in that discussion too, to make sure that they're satisfied with how that is laid out.
That would be great if we could do that.
The private property owners have rights. That's not a surprise to anybody sitting here. So you have to, they're gonna take the position, in my opinion, that they just don't want people inadvertently wandering onto their property, getting hurt, and then them getting sued, which makes a lot of sense. So somehow, we're gonna have to mark that in such a way that people just can't inadvertently wander onto somebody else's property.
And that'll probably be dependent upon how the easement is structured, or is marketed.
Yeah,
How- where
it'll
things
be
can
based
go
on
to try to
where
keep people
exactly
away from-
the easement is, and then, a lot of what, got hot for a second. The CIP that was previously submitted for this section of the trail, a lot of it was, the funding was devoted to signage to delineate where the trail was, and fencing, and setting up the parking and stuff, so that's what essentially the money would be used for, is to make all of those things happen and make sure that it's not impeding on property rights and things of that nature, so.
Cool. Anything
Any other
else?
questions? No? Okay.
Alright, so, we had a discussion, or this is the agenda, addition to discuss ARPA funds. And if we wanted to propose anything or submit anything, a request for any funds to the board.
Yes, so the board right now, at their last meeting, they, requested that all committees be asked that if they have any recommendations for how ARPA funds are used, that those be made to them before their July meeting on July 17th. Their first meeting will be canceled because of the holiday. So they're just looking for any ideas that any of the committees have. The planning commission has submitted a few ideas based on sidewalk improvements and things like that. That's kind of in their wheelhouse. Park Lake Advisory Board recently submitted one that they received at their last meeting for, boat launch reconstruction. They also had the kayak launch idea, and a couple other things. So just looking for any ideas that this group might have. Can be ideas that we've already discussed or any new ones, so.
Is there a senior center looking or talking about anything?
Yes, they are. Yep, that group will meet, next week, I believe, so they'll be discussing that during their meeting.
All of the township committees are gonna be in play on this. So they're all going to be asked as part of community involvement and how we might spend or invest this money, what they think might be the best things. And you're starting to see an overlap where there's talk over in this group about we should do a kayak launch, and there's talk in this group there should be a kayak launch. And so it'll be a little bit obvious if you have multi-groups supporting certain things.
Yeah,
And it's the community involvement piece, and I think it's pretty strong.
Could that boat launch be lumped into that?
Yeah, and I
Our
mean,
whole parking lot engineering,
any-
kayak launch.
anything having to do with parks and recreation.
Recreation.
yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
that's a
so,
good funding source for
since we'll have another meeting prior to the July meeting, no decisions have to be made tonight, but obviously we can use this as a discussion. And then next meeting could kind of nail down some ideas that I could put into a memo format for the board for their meeting. So just wanted to get the discussion going.
So I would agree, I mean, the low hanging fruit of the boat launch, kayak, or boat, yeah. And the kayak launch, clearly if, especially like you said, if there's other committees that are asking for that, you know, having those in there, and again, asking for, like you said, you know, Spark is very competitive. And so thinking about asking for, you know, funds for those things from multiple places is a good idea. Ben, are there any things that sort of like, that we haven't come up here in the last year that are more, maybe not as glamorous as a kayak launch, where you're like, Sean was saying yesterday that, there was like irrigation at the soccer fields, are there like, you figured out where the valve fault thing was, but are there things like that where like, you know, we might not hear about them or think about them?
But I think, do those fall into under maintenance, is that,
Yeah, so
I don't know if those are up for grabs.
with ARPA, like criteria, there's some stuff that doesn't necessarily meet, so I don't really know if maintenance, there's kind of a fine line with maintenance, because poured in place isn't technically maintenance, because it's replacing the whole thing. So it's kind of a gray area.
Yeah,
One thing I will say is, all the parks have really poor signs. I don't know if that's something, you know, something that we could, you know, make our parks, the entrance look a little bit more inviting, rather than a couple of 2x6s that are painted with words on them.
Yeah, I think new signage would be great.
Spruce up our parks a little bit, just,
yeah,
I mean, just give it a facelift with a sign.
Forgive my ignorance, so I'm not sure what ARPA funds would cover and whatnot, but like some kind of like better parking area at the Robson Park there, you know? Like when we went to go to like the Easter egg hunt thing, for instance, like people were like spinning their their wheels, cause you know, it was grass and it was muddy that day, it was raining. And just, you know, for like those days when you go in like the spring to go for a walk, like it's a great time to go for a walk, but it's really hard to get your car into there. And so like something like that, or even like the undeveloped park where we just put all those trees in, you know, maybe like getting like a parking lot in there, and then like some kind of trails just so people can walk it, and then start, you know, then build up the park to ideas like you had had later. But maybe getting it started by putting in like, you know, the parking lot there, so people can go back there and walk on their own and things like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just things like that popped up in my mind.
I do have funds in my budget, this year for a parking lot at Robson.
Okay, nice.
So just a gravel, like the
Sure.
DNR style parking
Yep.
lot, it's nothing fancy, but, that is an issue.
Yeah, I was
Easier
trying to
grade
drive
out
really
gravel
carefully.
than it is grass.
Yeah, and I know like parents going to the soccer fields, you have a really hard time finding it because it's back a little further. And if we just got like a little bigger, a little, you know, flashier sign, you know, I think it'd be really nice for that, as well as like when we were going to the Easter egg thing, so many people were driving right by their Robson flasher board
Yeah.
because they didn't see it. They're like,
Well, and it
whoops,
faces,
and throw it in reverse.
it faces the road
Yeah.
rather than perpendicular
Hard
to the
to-
road,
hard to
you don't
see
see it.
yep.
Yeah,
I really like the idea of signage. And I'm just gonna put this out there. It's not, I will probably admit, it's not especially helpful. But that undeveloped park on Upton has been like turning in my brain for years. And it's like, I'm not exactly sure like where, you know, what to do with it, where it could go, what it could be type of thing, you know, it's.
I loved when Ben was talking about it, and he was talking about all kinds of ideas, but one of them he threw out was putting like a huge building for like, you know, where they had like indoor basketball courts, but also a place people could rent out, you know, to do like community activities and things. We were talking about like the school outgrowing, you know, not be able to rent things, and having a building like that to use and hold recreation activities, I think would be awesome.
Just a rec center.
Yeah,
Rec center,
definitely.
yeah.
A rec center, you know, you could rent it out for parties or whatever, or, you know, another idea I had for over there is, as a township, we're really short on sports fields, and, I mean, we have a soccer field, That's it. We don't have basketball courts, we don't have baseball fields. You know, I think that even if you had 2 baseball fields over there in a little bathroom building or something, there's already a well over there.
There is a well, okay.
Somewhere to play tennis.
We'd have to
I'm
do
sure
much
not.
grading over
Yeah,
there to
tennis
build
over there.
baseball
I
fields.
love tennis.
You'd have to do some dirt work for
Yeah,
sure,
sure.
Yeah.
but you could do it.
Or anything about like, you know, the fields where there's 4 baseball diamonds or softball, you know, there, and there's
They're
a
really close
concession
together.
stand in the
middle.
center and like,
Kinda like the East Lansing Park over
Yeah.
here.
yeah. It's like you hold tournaments there, you hold, you know,
League, I mean, we could have our own, using
Yeah,
our own
adult
fields
leagues,
instead of the
yeah.
schools,
yeah,
yeah. And that
Adult
was the other
kickball
thing,
league.
you know, the
Oh, yeah.
recreation for young adults is, you know, or even adults.
Yeah.
Is limited for what we have here.
yep. I think about, I always forget the name of the school, but it's part of Dara, but it used to be a school, now it's a rec center off of, Old 27, south of Clark.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
right across from
Delta
Reno's,
Mills.
what is
The
it?
Delta,
Valley
or
Farms.
Delta, Valley Farms.
Valley,
Yeah,
so yeah,
Valley
you know, like, yeah, you know, I have a friend that we go play pickleball there in the winter, and like every weekend morning, like that place is full of pickleball thing and
Yeah.
kids that come to do basketball there, and
We're building a new pickleball court at Granger.
yeah,
You know that or not?
yeah. Oh,
Do you foresee these like being something that, the township would make money off, like renting the fields or to leagues and teams?
I suppose, I mean, if you have a nice enough facility that,
Yeah.
you know, a tournament wants to, you know, you can have regionals for, I mean, we played over at Geyer Park for a regionals and softball tournament one time, and, I mean, there was a ton of people there. I suppose if however far you wanna take it, you could make some money, I don't know that it'd be a lot, but.
Right, well, even like if you had like the indoor like basketball courts and stuff, instead of having to go play with Hazlitt's group, you know, you could start your own here
Yeah.
in town, and maybe other towns would wanna come to ours, it'd be so nice and convenient, so.
and you start thinking about that too, then in terms of, there's like all the development that's happening on Saginaw there, you know, it's like you have to, if you have those places and you host those tournaments, you've gotta have the restaurants and those types of
Yep.
businesses, and we're starting to get that on that
Right off the
corridor there,
interchange.
right there, yeah,
Yeah.
off the, it's a good location for those types of things.
I'm also thinking a lot of exciting ideas that would be great if they were accepted, but I'm curious about the Bath Memorial Museum. Would they be part of the ARPA ask, or are they
So
different?
No, they're independent.
Yeah, they're their own, they're not under the township umbrella. They're already going after their own funding for their efforts to get their new museum building that they're hoping to have before the 100th anniversary. So they wouldn't really be involved in the ARPA funds.
Does the township have any plans or move in any direction to recognize the 100th year memorial for this?
So the museum committee is mostly handling a lot of that. We're obviously there to assist, and, you know, support in any way that we can. So we'll hopefully be involved in that as we get closer, but, I mean, right now they're kind of more focused on where they're going with the museum and getting ready for that, but, Mr. Benzie?
Just so this board knows, they approached the township board here less than a month ago, and they asked us for $1,000 to put their architectural drawings together, and their total cost was $2,000. So the township board voted to pay the whole $2,000 for them. So they come to the township board sometimes for support, and we've been helping them.
Yeah.
That's great. I think I'll reach out unless you have concerns, just to see if there's anything else that might be on their scope for, in terms of asking if we can, the Parks and Recreation Committee can help out too.
Yeah.
And looping back into Wishwasher Park, over the last 40 years, we've had to, a lot of big trees that are mature, they had to be removed. So we're really kind of short on shade over there. So maybe another pavilion in another part of that park that would create shade, maybe make a place for the band to play, you know, some type of versatile not only maybe any different than the pavilion that we have, but something like that might be something we might wanna do over there to create a little more shade for people.
At Wiswasser or at Cousins? At
Bushwasher.
Okay.
I did have, I don't know if I shared it with you guys, at one point I drew out, just kinda sketched out where possibly we could put the sports court and some more sidewalk. And another pavilion was also in that drawing. I had sort of a, I think it was like a 60 by 60 parking area that was to the north of the bathroom building. And then the court would go in, and to the north of the court would be another 30 by 40 pavilion. That was just one of the ideas that I had. There's also another well
Oh, yeah. from
over
the
there.
house.
So,
Is 30 by 40 the size of the current one there?
I think
or
it,
close
I
to
think
the-
it's a little, I think it's a little longer.
Okay,
The one is longer than 40 now, it might be
okay,
60 long.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure how
That
long,
sounds right.
but, and then also with the engineering that we had done for the parking lot, on the south side of Wiswasser, that's already, the engineering is already done. They included some green space with some more trees in that also. Cause yeah, if you're sitting there watching your kids play, you're baking in the sun, sitting on those benches.
yep. I mean, I like that idea, that park gets used so much, and I imagine it's only going to continue to get used, so,
Every day I went by there this last holiday weekend, there was a different family that had gathered underneath the big tree out in the middle of the park. They brought over some tables and brought some tables themselves. And the next day you drive by and there was another family there,
Wow.
you know. And plus the pavilion was full.
I mean, if we're seeing a full pavilion, it's, might be time for
Or
another pavilion.
You're gonna share.
Yeah. Maybe time for another pavilion.
Township purchased some properties on the lake side of the road. Are there any amenities, benches, hammock stands that
Not
you
yet.
consider going to there? It seems like hammock stands would be a good place to lounge on the lake there, just brainstorming.
Yeah, if we could keep them from walking away.
They're, like Michigan State and Lansing, they've just been sticking them into the ground and people have brought their own hammocks.
Oh, they bring their
Yeah,
own
like
hammocks?
the,
Oh,
like
Ah.
the big
okay. Oh,
ones
okay.
kinda, yeah,
They're just posts in the ground?
yeah,
Oh.
and then you tie your hammock on them.
That's a good idea.
That is a good
That
idea.
seems pretty inexpensive too.
Yeah,
Yeah. I would like to, at some point, maybe it's this winter, think about, this rec center idea, you know? I mean, that's a big project, obviously, that's not like, oh, we had 2 meetings and we were like, let's do this, but I'd like to, whether that's like one of the things that was great last meeting was that it was a co-meeting.
yeah.
And like thinking about, all right, like if we want to start having some conversations around this and community conversations, like how do we all enter into that conversation at the beginning of it? Not how do we come to it and say, here is our drawing of a rec center, we are doing this. We would love your input on this drawing that we've already done, and we really wanna be partners, you know, like, so, and there's people in the community, I mean, we can have, I think that the last meeting went really well, I think we can jointly have meetings, I think if it moves out of that. Diane Dobrnak did such a great job of, I mean, she facilitated that year-long community conversation about the farmer's market before the farmer's market even started, she did the meetings, she did, and I feel like, I'd be happy to ask her again, just cause she's awesome at community involvement and community conversation, but having something like that, if that's, I would love to go down that road of what does that look like, and the end goal might be, it doesn't look like anything, that's not a good thing for that space, but at least we have that process and that conversation.
I think that'd be an exciting conversation.
I do
The thing that worries me though is, would Court One be a competitor and would that be a problem?
I mean, they don't have any, they just do like an open gym, right? And then like they've got the workout facility and then they've got the gym space. So I think that's part of, I would assume some type of, you know, whether it's SWAT or whatever, you know, that would be some type of early thing that we would talk about in that, you know. And I think involving places around there too, and that, you know.
I think, you know, the rec center, that, you know, that's gonna give a spot for our township events and recreation programs also. You know, that's the big thing that we don't have.
Right.
You know, if you're in, you can pay to go to the gym down there, you know, or, you know, your kids might pay baseball or basketball in this place, or.
Right. And like you said, it's the school works, but it's also like there's the, if Becca is just like, or whoever is in that position is like, we're doing basketball here, it's like, we're doing basketball there. It's not like, is it available? I mean, there'd be
Right.
some of that, but not like who's there to unlock it? Who's responsible? How do we coordinate
Yes.
it within the school? What does the liability insurance look?
Right.
All of those
Yes.
things. Where
Yeah.
if it's a township building or entity, that
We could offer it for all ages then and not have to worry about it, cause it'd be great to have something for the adults.
yeah,
Forget those kids.
adult league.
Let's put in a south spa.
Yeah.
There's two levels of thinking here. There's pre-pandemic and then post-pandemic, and of course, we're in the post-pandemic. But during pre-pandemic, we had great access to the school down here. They had open gym for adults, the adults played basketball, and they came from all over. The kids that went to school here, went to work at auto owners, they'd come back, play basketball with all their friends on the weekend, they'd pick up games. And the school was pretty much responsible for opening that up and managing all of that. They had adult volleyball at the school, because the school has all that equipment and space. So maybe as part of this, we could explore a new partnership, if you will, to see what activities post-pandemic would be important to folks. Because they always were very kind in sharing facilities with us.
I think that's a great idea. And that, I mean, I could see that as being part of that's like the bigger conversation of, is this, you know, it starts with, is this a need? And how do we figure out if it is a need? And if so, what does that look like?
One last thing, I'm probably not gonna say much more tonight, but we had a very, very successful joint meeting with the planning commission, and I might encourage this group to have a joint meeting with the Park Lake Advisory Board folks, because there's a tremendous amount of overlap in what you're talking about and what they're talking about. And I just think that would benefit both groups greatly. So in the future sometime, maybe they can come to one of our meetings like the planning commission came to our meeting.
Yeah,
We could invite them.
it seems like a natural partnership, yeah. When are their meetings usually?
They meet on the third
Third
Wednesday.
Wednesday,
Yeah, third Wednesday of the month at 7.
or maybe we could go to one of their meetings.
Yeah, or vice versa, we
Vice
could just,
versa,
I think
however
starting
it
that
works.
conversation.
However it
Who is on that committee?
Well, Mr. Benzie is there, also their trustee.
Excellent.
But Dan Hayes is their chair.
Dan Hayes is the chair.
I'd like to see us invite them and maybe even make it like a standing meeting, cause it feels, if we start going to these meetings, which is great, but I think we need to like, start like bringing into focus and trying to get a control of, or get a handle on all the stuff that's going on, and that might be better suited if we bring organizations to us.
Yeah.
That's fine, I have no problem.
But if it like a yearly meeting with, you know, with the advisory group, with the planning and with the Park Lake Advisory Committee, I think would be really good for the committee.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
Oh, it's very beneficial, because I'm hearing the same things, both places.
Yeah. So if we circle back to kind of this ARPA conversation, are we okay to say peel the rec center out of that? And what we have what I think there was some excitement around were obviously the kayak launch and boat launch, and also park signage across the board, across all of our parks. Do you, I don't know the process for park signage, I mean, I'm sure there's a design process and, sizes that are allowable and
Yep.
those types of things. So there, the Board of Trustees meeting is July 17th. If we wanted, we have numbers already for kayak and boat launch. We don't have numbers for park signage or an additional pavilion at Wiswasser. If those are things we would like to possibly propose, how do we go about figuring out those numbers?
I don't think the board is necessarily looking for
We're looking for concepts.
Yeah,
We're
they're not really looking for-
numbers.
Okay, great,
what the hard numbers are, they're just mostly looking for concepts to kind of delve into after that point.
Okay.
So I don't think we really need to like put out requests for quotes at this point or anything, but.
great, well, that makes that.
But I like
a
where your
lot
head's
easier.
at.
So, so do those things seem reasonable to us, park signage, the kayak and boat launch, park signage, pavilion?
I would ask if you could also explore in addition, next, as a possible alternative to the pavilion, with some of those sunshades. So if there was like
Oh,
a
yeah.
place
Oh,
where it
yeah.
just kind of had sunshades, that might allow it to be more in the
Plus
summer,
might
but
be,
not
yeah.
up during the
Yeah.
winter.
And you could park a couple of them across there.
Yeah,
Ones that kind of look like the flags or the
Triangle.
triangles or.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Those might be a interesting alternative.
Yeah,
those also are visually, you can make, like,
Maybe you put one of those over your hammock.
yeah, there you go. We have delivery from the ice cream place, you'll be set.
Grub up.
Yeah, right. A direct line from the hammock bar to the Park Lake Creamery.
Those are some good shakes.
Yeah, they are. All right, so signage, kayak launch, boat launch, sunshade / pavilion / some type of coverage. The idea that we are recognizing that we need some more shade at that park. And there are a number of ways we could go about doing that.
You could also lump in that bathroom. Probably with
In
ARPA
the-
funds.
In the vault.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's all in that space, it's like, I'd rather, yeah. So for that from us, what would you need?
I think Dwight had a question.
It wasn't, but I'll comment. There was a walking tour that was given by the road commission, and they went through that Park Lake corridor right there, and they just came up with a number of exciting ideas on how to make that more pedestrian and bike friendly. So, with these
Great.
ideas that we're talking about, and those ideas, it's like really exciting possibilities.
I don't know if it's this group's responsibility or not, but one of the things that's being discussed in other groups is a sidewalk between the beach and Wishwasher Park.
I believe the planning commission had that in their recommendations, but obviously a great thing for this group to think
Yeah,
about
I
too.
love that idea.
Yeah,
That speaks to that, making that corridor more safe, get the folks off the street.
Yeah.
Slows the cars down too.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna put up like right away, just those little sticks that you put out, so if you hit them, they'll just fall down, but they just psychologically
Oh,
just
Yeah,
kinda like
deter
slow
you a
people
little.
down.
Yeah, they make you focus on where you're driving.
Uh-huh.
What do you call them? Ducks?
I can't
I think
remember
that's what you
he
call
said.
they're
them.
called ducks?
I think that's what the road commission calls them, ducks.
Do they look like ducks?
No, they're
They're
just a
just
white
like-
post.
I know, right, I mean,
That'd be a little morbid.
some people, "Grr."
Yeah. What did you ask me, Adam? I'm sorry.
So related to these, what you need for us, I think we should add this as an old business, continue the discussion at our June meeting. And then, but if there's anything formal or write-up or anything, no?
No, really just a list.
Just a list.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't really a specific format that was requested, so just a list, and then I believe, Superintendent Hildebrandt will kind of compile all of the requests that she's received.
Okay, so we'll add ARPA funds to July old business. All right, anything else with ARPA stuff? No? Cool, thank you for,
No, thank you.
for adding that. So Becca's not here, so any update on park stuff?
We pretty much touched on most of it already, but I did have a couple, we did get the sink replaced and the water heater replaced in the sink for the farmer's market. That was missing, I think it broke pre-pandemic and we never got around to replacing it. And also I talked with, just a couple text message with Chris Hagerman and they have started the restoration for the cupola.
Oh, they were doing it right before market started, there was a
Yeah.
guy working there,
Yeah.
it was looking really nice already.
I haven't been down there to see it,
Yeah.
but just, it has been, and I believe we're paying for that too.
Yes.
So, check it out.
Cool.
I haven't yet.
It looked like he was like wrapping up
I'm gonna
work
go
right
down there
when we were
tomorrow.
unpacking, so,
Yeah.
but it looked like he was doing very meticulous and like, it looked very nice,
Yeah.
so.
We had to wait for him. He was working other restorations in the state,
Okay,
so it was kinda like we had to get in line.
Yeah.
So he's here now.
excellent.
But
In demand, so the
that's-
in-demand person is good,
that's-
right?
That's what he does,
Yeah.
is restoration on historical monuments.
Oh, really? Okay,
That's- Yeah, that's what he does.
nice,
Interesting.
yeah.
I was just gonna say, Steve Tork really wanted me to throw it out there that we're off the fields now, the soccer fields. Our last games were this past weekend, and so, he just wanted to ensure, are you guys gonna start working on the field, you think, this summer, or?
We would like to, we have some other projects that we're getting going right now, but, we'd like to do some work down there. There's a couple spots in that field that really need it.
Yeah. Okay, and like I said in that email to you, that if you need us to stay off a little bit longer, like, just let me know, sooner the better, so that way I can just, ask the schools if we can practice on their fields, for a couple of weeks, and go from there.
You said they don't start till August again?
Right.
Okay.
And will you keep me posted on that too? I had a number of kids on our team that were like, can we play pickup games this summer on certain nights? And I was like, the township is gonna do some work on the field, I don't know exactly when that is gonna be, but I would love to, if they wanna, if they wanna play, like,
Yeah, it
I'll
won't, we won't close the entire field,
okay,
so we'll probably fence it off,
okay,
with some of that orange fence.
yep,
But yeah, some of that field, if they, if they're gonna play on the north half or whatever. or
Okay.
Wherever we're not fixing it, it should be open.
okay, so go ahead and
Probably.
think about
Yeah, if
scheduling
you're out
them
there,
and
kids
then,
just wanna play some pickup games or whatever, it's not gonna bother it.
okay, cool. And if stuff's up, we'll make sure that we're not
Yeah. I
running
mean, if you
through
kick a
the,
ball in there, you gotta go get it.
right, but other,
Yeah.
yeah, so, cool.
And, I just wanna let you know that I'm going to move all the goals off the field, so that way they're out of your guys' way for the summer and stuff like that,
Okay.
and, yeah.
Perfect. I do know Cody mentioned, getting some, he's been kinda waiting on this fertilizer, cause the irrigation wasn't working great and didn't wanna burn the grass up even more. But getting a fertilizer and then spraying for broadleaf, now that the season's done.
Sounds good.
Nice.
Carolyn's comment made me wonder, do we have any day camps or kids camps for the?
So we used to do with the summer lunch program, we would offer, like activities and entertainment on those days, but the school isn't doing that this year because they didn't receive the grant for that, is that correct?
I'm sorry.
The school lunch thing, they
The
didn't
eat
get
up
their
and meet
grant
up,
for
They're not
it,
doing
yeah.
The meet up and eat up.
Yeah,
meetup,
so
yeah.
they're not able to do that this summer. So I know Becca's trying to think of some different things that we could bring like to the market and things like that to get kids more involved in some other activities, so. If you have ideas, I'm sure she'd love to hear them, so.
Soccer camp. Be fun.
Yes, I agree. Sorry, I was thinking about my
And also a
member
gardening
comment
club
section.
would be great too.
Ooh.
Not,
Don't look at me.
He does that for a living.
Not for you.
yeah, well, I was looking beyond you, the food bank,
Yeah,
down the road there.
yeah. we're happy to give people seeds and plants to start gardens, but the. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the food banks is supporting something like a 1,000 gardens seems like a lot. I think, is that where they're at? They're at 100 or 1,000, and my zeros might be off, but they've got 7 staff that do that garden project stuff, so I don't know if there's any in Bath that they're doing. You could ask.
I hear about it every once in a while, but I don't know that they're where they are.
Yeah.
But one of the things we're talking about on the county level is that Medicaid and Medicare are gonna be redistributed, and so that's like food for a lot of people, and so
Yeah.
as we're going into this year, it's kind of discouraging to hear that the food, meat and heat is not gonna
Yeah.
be available, because that's food for young people.
Yeah, I do think, I saw something on one of the community pages about Countryside Manor trying to do some sort of community food thing. I don't know if that took off or not, but
Cindy Cronk was running something for the next couple of weeks, and then she said until another program took off, I don't remember
Oh, okay.
what that was, but she was gonna do it, she got a bunch of people to volunteer with her, to donate stuff,
Yeah.
and so she's doing lunches for the kids and stuff right now.
yeah, so hopefully there's still some options out there,
Yeah.
but obviously unfortunate that it's not able to be at our own schools, so.
All right, so no public comment? Anything to report out from Board of Trustees?
No, I pretty much covered it during the meeting.
Excellent. I like this, us covering agenda items during the meeting discussion, so. Any member comments?
I did, I just don't want it to be taken the wrong way. I just feel, discouraged with the amount of programs that we're putting out right now, recreation wise. And I'm sure that there's other steps that we just don't know, like behind the scenes as to why, Becca and the township isn't putting out as many programs. But, I think that we have a lot of people who are willing to volunteer their time, to step up to help put on those programs for adults, for kids, things like that. Whether it be, they used to do so many things, and I just miss like seeing them out there, as options. And my kids weren't old enough for some of them, like the babysitters training or like the CPR training classes they offered, or doing that idea. Like I just feel like we put out a lot of ideas and not a lot of things get able to happen. And like for instance, like that summer camp one that somebody had here, of having taking someone from each of the clubs and offering like a camp by the township and having like, this is a basketball day, this one's soccer, this one's, football, whatever it was. I just thought that was such a great idea, and I think it's so disappointing that, that we're not able to do that. And if there was something more that I could do, I just wanted to put forth that I'm willing to step up and help out to put forth like those camps and like help organize them and stuff like that. Because I just would really like to see a lot of the programs that we used to have come back, or something similar even.
Yeah, I know a lot of that, unfortunately, is coming with not having the space. Becca has still been having, issues with finding places in order to do things. I mean, like Ben said, we don't have our own fields and things like that. I know just getting baseball scheduled was a little difficult this year for Becca. So a lot of it is coming down to scheduling. Becca has lots of ideas that she really wants to do. But things like yoga, it took Becca 6 months to find somebody to do yoga.
Sure.
There's a lot of people that want people to come to them and to their business. They don't want to come here and do a program here. So we're also running into that problem too, of Becca trying to find instructors for things. Similar with like CPR, she and I have talked about that, but right now our public safety, they're just so understaffed right now. There's just no way that we can
Yeah.
schedule that.
And that
So
was-
it just comes to scheduling is just a major issue, unfortunately, right now. And I
And
think
that wasn't
it's
like
just,
putting her down, like if she
no,
wanted.
and
just wanted-
I totally understand.
I just think, we have so many great ideas, everybody puts forth them, and I just would love to see more of them come, to happen. Like they have the outdoor basketball courts, and then right there they have a soccer field, and right there they also have like the baseball field. And that just seems like the perfect spot at the school, and they would probably let us because it's right outside. You don't have to go inside and use the facilities, and there was already a porta potty in place for T-ball and things like that. It would have been a great opportunity to do that camp idea. And so anyways, if I'm able to, if if we're just not doing it because we're out of resources, I would love to offer up my time and, to help do some of those programs. I can't do all of them, obviously, but you know, like I can try to help facilitate things. As well as, the only other thing I want to say was that when we do offer programs, if there was any way we could, post about it sooner. Some of them, for instance, like the Easter Bunny thing, people said, I didn't know about it, and I just didn't see anything about it, and I didn't feel like it maybe even got posted until like, you know, the week of. Maybe if we put it out a little bit sooner, or like monthly newsletter, or, you know, whatever it may be, just so people
Yeah,
can see it a
so
little
I will
sooner.
say that this year that was a little bit of a anomaly. I myself was out of the office for about 2 weeks, so that was a little bit on me, but that was also something out of my control.
Yeah, no, I
Um,
just think if we.
Yeah, so there are things
them
that kind of
know.
come up. Unfortunately, we're such a small office that each of us has a job, and
Sure.
we don't have backup. So sometimes when things like, you know, a family emergency happens for me and I'm out of the office, and my work unfortunately stops because
Sure.
nobody else is able to do it. It's just the nature of our office, and it's unfortunate because sometimes things like that suffer. We try to be really on top of those things, but sometimes just life happens, and
Yeah, no, and I understand that, I just think, you know, if she had just posted it like a month earlier, or if we had the ability to make a flyer and then present it to you to get approved, you know, there's people who are willing to help out and step up to do those things. I'm sure there's guidelines and rules that have to be followed, but, you know, I just wanted to let you know that there's people who, you know, would be willing to help and stuff, who just, so we could all kind of feel like we have more of the
Yeah.
community things happening again. That's all I wanted to say.
Sounds good. Anyone else?
I'd like to add on to that, say that it would also be nice if she had some sort of interns to help out. I think that could be something that'd be great for the Bath High School students as well as kind of helping her out, so managing those things for this upcoming year. Then I'd also like to report that there were 2 bike events this past weekend. One was a Park Lake bike ride that had a 11-mile, a 16-mile, and a 33-mile bike ride, and that turned out well. There was like 25 people who did the rides, and everybody seemed to report that, give good reports about it. And then there was also a bike rodeo, which I wasn't able to attend because I was doing a 33-mile ride, but I heard there was like 100 people who
Yeah,
showed
there
up.
was.
So I was just staggered to hear that so many people showed up, and wanted to report that to the group.
Nice. That's great.
To add to that, they gave away 4 bikes.
That
Awesome.
motivated people
Yeah,
to
that would.
stay at the beach and go to the
yeah.
bike.
Well, it was the safe routes to school, but we helped them get the
Yeah, I was on the kayak, I
Costco
saw
cards
people
and
riding
everything.
by Park Lake Road on the bikes, and I said, look, they're doing the bike tours. The kids were going on the water, I said, on the road, guys, on the road, not on the water.
Alright, anything else? Alright, it's a motion to adjourn at 7:05. Can I make that motion? That's always.
Yes.
I can,
Oh,
alright,
you can
so
make
I didn't know if I could, yeah, alright, so I make a motion to adjourn at 7:05. Yeah, get a second?
Yes, second.
Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright, good work, everyone.